Hey, how are you? Not yet. Oh, here it's.
Good morning. I would like all of you to stand and join me in prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome all of you to the February 3rd, 2009 meeting of the Calaveras County Board of Supervisors. And you notice this little change in the direction up here. We're all such creatures of habit. We pledged allegiance to the Calaveras County flag last week, and so that's what that was all about. All right. I would like to take this opportunity to ask anyone with a cell phone to please turn it on vibrate or turn it off. We attended a meeting last week where a young man stood up and he said, incidentally, he was the sales manager for a local cell phone company, and he said, would you all stand up? Anybody who has a cell phone, would you please make a call? So I thought that was kind of an odd way, a funny way to start a meeting. But anyway, we have on the consent agenda, this consent agenda items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They'll be acted upon by the board without, at one time without discussion. However, any member of the Board of Supervisors or interested party might request the removal of an item on the consent calendar for later discussion. So we have 5 items on the consent calendar this morning that have a request for removal. I do have a letter requesting some discussion on item 5, so I'd like to pull that item. Okay, items 1 through 4. So I have a motion.
I move.
Okay, moving second, items 1 through 4. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's 5-0 in favor of passing the consent calendar, except for item 5. Mr. Moss.
Good morning. Brian Moss, manager, administrator of Environmental Management. Item 5 actually today is a letter to the State Water Board regarding our concerns about specific aspects of the Assembly Bill 885 on-site regulations. The Assembly Bill was actually passed in 2000, and the regulations have been in the State Board ever since that time, with quite a bit of controversy actually on how the regulations themselves would apply throughout the state of California. Actually, what's interesting is there was supposed to be a public hearing with the State Water Board next week, February 9th, in Sacramento. That has been postponed in part due to an incident that happened in Santa Rosa last week, where there was going to be a public hearing on comments on the draft environmental impact report. The same thing that we had here on December 8th, actually. However, due to the number of people that showed up to that meeting, the meeting was canceled, and it has been rescheduled for Santa Rosa for the 9th, I believe. So, essentially, public comments, which we're proposing today, that were due by the 9th, have actually been extended out to February 23rd. We are still proposing to move forward and get our comments in, as have many other counties, especially rural counties. I believe board actually address this issue with either two of those themselves. So that's a little bit of the background on this. We still don't know what those regulations are going to look like, specifically because of the opposition to what's been proposed by the State Board, and also the public comment that the State Board has been receiving as they've been doing these workshops throughout the state of California.
There was a suggestion, basically in writing, that the reason that all of these proceedings had been postponed is because the number of people that have indicated that they were going to go to the meeting and couldn't fit. But don't you? And I also get the sense that they're reacting to the kind of a landslide of opposition positions to these measures. The inability to put in a septic system if some of these rules were to be adopted. So the reason I'm going into this is I think that we have an audience that watches the proceedings of the board, and I just want to stress to people that this AB 885 could have some very dire consequences for Calaveras County and counties like us if it goes through the way it's being drafted.
That is correct, and also it's important to note that this board has actually been very involved in this process over the years as well. This is not a new issue, of course, to the Board of Supervisors. However, it can be a new issue to some individuals out there, even though we've done outreach efforts. So you are absolutely correct. There are a number of aspects inside the draft environmental impact report and the regulations. Quite frankly, there are concerns to us. Does it mean the entire package is not good? No, it doesn't mean it at all. But it does mean with what we talked about during the workshop, the monitoring requirements, and the engineered systems, and some of the things that are actually covered in the technical part of the document are a concern to us as well as others. And I would say that the State Water Board is really hearing, this similar aspects from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, and that's why obviously they're thinking about coming back to the table and thinking how they can make this work.
Okay. Any supervisors wish to comment? Supervisor Levinson.
Yes, you may recall that a number of us attended the public hearing here in this room, and one of the things that I was hoping you might convey, along with our concerns and complaints, were possible alternatives to what they're suggesting. During that meeting, I noted that we've had some issues in my district in the middle fork of the McCollum River, and my thought was that dollar for dollar, public education would be probably the quickest way to have a result. And and having a more targeted approach rather than scattershot across all systems. There are places where we have old systems that are redwood tanks that you know are falling apart, that have a public implication to their failure. And in my view, talking about targeting and public education are things that are missing from this letter, and I was hoping that we might add those two items to the topic. It's not that we don't have problems, it's that their solution is too one-size-fits-all, too onerous economically, and not targeted enough to actually have a result. So I was hoping we'd give them at least a clue as to where they might go with what little money is available for this to have an effect.
Okay, as I understand, our letter has been drafted, but we'll have an opportunity as this thing comes back and, perhaps a new form.
We can just add the sentence to, because the state court of workers is also looking at this same issue. Brian, maybe we could just do, under the last page, item 10, just add item 10, and recommend an education component taken through media, properties transfer, any one of the number of options that Steve mentioned. So all we need to do is just revise the last page. I thought your comments were really on target. Those are what things we've been saying for years.
Thank you.
If we just add that, Steve, is that fine?
Yeah, I'm looking for actually two pieces of that. One is the public education and outreach, and then taking whatever they do in a more targeted and strategic approach. It's not, so those are the 2 points.
And I believe that we will probably see something coming out from Sacramento that will probably actually include some of those things, in part due to the fact that the jurisdictions across the state really are saying similar things. And those are concerns. I will remind the board that this was actually a bill that I believe was going on Santa Barbara County. So it was a coastal bill that eventually went from the south coast all the way up the coast, and then eventually a one-size-fits-all. So that is the concern, I know the board is acutely aware of the fact that from one site to another within Cuyahoga County, much less region to region, types of septic systems vary and disposal methods vary, effectively disposal methods vary. So I will certainly add those issues and comments to an item 10 to the board and submit it to the clerk.
I move, we approve this
Just before we do that, I'd like to ask if any of the supervisors have any comments. Any other members of the audience have a comment on this item? Mr. Segal.
Morning, Chairman, supervisors.
Remember, Alan, you only have 25 minutes.
25 minutes is all I have.
Okay.
I think I might be
I
able
think
to
it
do
was
it in
fine.
a short period of time. First, I want to compliment you on the letter. I read the letter. It is well written, and it looks like with all the other counties taking similar action, it may not be as critical as it could be if it were only our county that was being affected by the negative consequences occurred here. I think the taxpayers are particularly pleased when the board takes action to bring about less harm from regulation from the state. And this is an excellent example of an opportunity for us to say thank you. The second thing I'd say is go ahead and sign the letter and send it, adding a clause on there for public education, this and that. It looks like there's going to be another letter you'll be writing after they revise these regulations, again, And at that time, it might be appropriate to add something beneficial to it. The underlying problem seems to be the state wanting to manage the internal affairs of Calaveras County. I think you are quite capable of selecting criteria to handle separate problems or any other type of problems like that without guidance from the state. Kind of like mother would rather do it herself. So if you were going to redraft a letter, I would make it plain that the state reconsider the scope of activity in the internal affairs of Calaveras County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sedano.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Morning, Mr. Martin.
Good morning. My name is Les Martin. I reside in Valley Springs. I've been kind of following this AB 885, basically what we discussed. Again, it started out in 1999, 2000, and $50,000 of state funds were allocated to put this thing to bed. Here we are now at 2009, and it keeps going hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars. This is what's wrong with the darn state. These things morph into a good idea that's been blown out of all proportion, and there's no end in sight. I think Supervisor Walensky, I think, very good about as far as an awareness program. Let people know how a system works. I grew up on a farm in upstate New York that was built during the Revolutionary War time. We've been on a septic system since the year one. The darn thing's still working, you know. And of course, there is the health department. I met with Brian Moss after I addressed the board last time. I found him a wonderful, capable person. He is enforcing the rules of Calaveras County. It seems to work. We do not have a major problem here. You may find a septic system that is leaking. But is it big fear to a risk? I think it is. Anything we can do to just kind of get some common sense into this and try to nip it in the bud and save some state taxpayers' money. We're talking about people going on furloughs. I'm retired right now, and thank God for that. But what about the people that are out, not government employees, but regular employees that cannot come to these meetings and have the foggiest idea what's coming down the pipe? So, anything we can do is great. And again, I want to thank Brian. He just has done a fine job for us here. So that's all I have to say right now on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Les. Any other comments from the public? Thank you.
One last comment is associated with this, and that is the draft regulations, the local regulations, were sent out to the regulated community approximately 2 weeks ago. That means the visitors, that means it's been pointed to the visitors, the consultants, the engineers who do work in the county, and we have given the regulated community until the end of February to submit written comments back to our department. I believe that I also forwarded the draft copy of those regulations to the board as well. So we are moving forward locally as well. There are some issues that we need to address. And even if AB 885 does pass as far as regulations in some form, the things that we put in our local regulations are fairly Calaveras specific. So I just wanted to let everybody be aware of the fact that we have done that as well.
Thank you very much, Brian.
Good job, Brian. Very nice letter forward. Thank you. Point.
If that concludes our comments, do we have a motion?
I'd like to approve this letter as modified to add these concerns. And then let the chair sign it.
Do we have a second for that?
Yes.
Okay, move in second to approve the letter as modified. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And opposed? There are none, so it passes on 5-0. At this time, I would like to get back on schedule a little bit. I have some announcements to read, and then I have an acknowledgement that I want to handle here. But at this time, the chair reads the following, a closed session on last week's agenda pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9B1, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation. In one case, that particular hearing was canceled. A closed session was held last week pursuant to the same government code. This was 54956.9C, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, initiation of litigation. Two cases, we had no results, resulting in no action taken. A closed session was added to the agenda last week pursuant to Government Code 54954.2B2. The closed session was held pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B, public employment for the planning director, resulting in nothing to report. There is an addendum to today's agenda, item 9, the closed session pursuant to Government Code 54957B, public employee appointment. The planning director, county administrative officer has brought this, and we will be hopefully taking action on the closed session today.
Mr. Chair, I prepared that closed session item. I used the wrong term. Actually, that closed session should be a little more extensive. It was intended to cover the community development agency director. So just small change, but I want to make sure that
Okay, so noted. All right. Last week we discussed with some level of involvement about a lady who works for the county of Calaveras. We're very privileged to have Jeannie Boyce with us this morning, and I certainly want to acknowledge the award that she got from the Enterprise as being the best of the best in government service. And I think that there may be other board members who want to acknowledge Jeannie's worth to our community and to the county. But Jeannie, thank you very much for doing the job that you do. And by all means, congratulations on the award.
Thank you very much.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I wanted to take one shot at this. It's pretty rare to have somebody who can preside over such a vast empire with so many challenges, both fiscally but also programmatically. We need to evolve the mental health program in the wake of Prop 63. The kinds of challenges that we're having an increased caseload across the board, threats of pandemic and global concern about those things. Usually what you get is enough stumbles so that somebody like this lines up in the limelight in the worst possible ways, and you see that in county after county. Here, quietly and extremely confidently, we've been blessed with the work of Jeannie Boyce, and too often that goes unrecognized. The Enterprise noted a basic truth about good work in Calaveras County, and it really should be on the public record here today, and we wanted to make sure Jeannie heard not just that the Enterprise thinks that, but that all of us here on the board are most appreciative of work well done. I would also like to note for the record that she resides in the beautiful District 2.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Having worked with Jeannie for many years when she started out in the admin office and taught me what I needed to know about the budget, so Mr. Lawton et al. Do not like what I do, we can put it on to Jeannie.
I would not wish to associate myself.
Jeannie took a department that was in dire straits and all of its subunits and made it really a leading agency in Calaveras County and an integral part of our county. She was also one of the first department heads to allow her staff to come before the board versus Jeannie as the department head coming before the board. And it truly is an honor to work with you. And you are definitely an icon of county government, Gene's voice.
Yeah, well, how come with all the science that goes on in your department, you haven't figured out how to do a clone interview?
I would incorporate Marita's comments and just say, in closing, that the award is very well deserved, and it's nice to see your department functioning as well as yours.
Thank you very much for all your support. And I should. I have two boys trying to help me. I thank the board for your support over the years. I also thank the advisory board of the Health Enterprise. I'm quite honored by this recognition. And I would be remiss if I didn't share it with my colleagues, my staff, and the community members that work with us to solve problems, because it really takes all of us. So thank you very much. I'm very honored. And to be with Paul and Doris, couldn't ask for more. So thank you.
Congratulations, Jean.
Thank you, Gary.
I haven't had a lot of time to work with you, but I look forward to working with you and your department. And from the accolades I've heard good from the supervisors that have worked with you, job well done.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks again. All right, we are at item 6, public comments. I would like to remind everybody that we will be limited to 5 minutes per person and 15 minutes per topic, and please identify yourself.
My name's Frank James. You guys are talking about the water pollution and stuff, but yet you guys don't go to Wilsonville and fix that dump that even environmental health has said it's their fault. The water is being polluted and you guys ain't doing nothing about it. I would take care of that before I take care of anything else. Remember, when that man and woman came here, they had a little shoebox of everybody that's died because of that dump. The second thing is, when I go to Stage March, they're letting the public buses block handicap. Now, there was a comment made about me this morning because I'm handicapped. I have 4-way bypass. I have one eye. I've got diabetes and on. But you know what? I'm not going to sit in a wheelchair and have people feel sorry for me. I walk when I got to walk. And that's the way it is. I don't want nobody feeling sorry for me, opening doors for me. But the comment came this morning that I'm walking all over this town. Yes, that's because I'm too goddamn mean to lay down and say, oh, feel sorry for Frank. But you know what? This is bull. Look at the stuff I have here. And not just me, other people. I got pictures right here. And yet they still block it. That's a $375 ticket for each one of those people driving that bus, and yet nothing's done. Can I ask why?
Mr. Ginger, you may be very pleased to know that the next item on the agenda is
Moving the buses.
moving the bus stop.
Yeah.
So that's going to
That's
be.
what I figured.
So-
Also, as long as we're here, how about county employees doing things they ain't supposed to do? Like banking and going to the store and sitting there for an hour. I've got pictures of that too. Don't we pay them a wage? Then let them work like they're supposed to work. Like the code enforcement driving home their vehicles. I just want to know why if we're hurting for money, why are we paying for their gas to go home? Is there any reason? $100,000 a year? Why?
Well, I'm sure we can look into this, Mr. Ginger.
We did a couple of years ago, and you guys made a comment that they could eat in the vehicles. I brought it up, but don't you think that's a waste of taxpayers' money? We have to pay 40 people to drive home every day? Come on. We can do more with that money. I'm sure they can afford their own gas.
But the main thing is, Wilsonville got to get fixed. Them people, the county polluted it. The guy's right there. He come up here and asked for the money to clean it up. Why isn't it cleaned up? Can anybody tell me why? Those people are still getting sick. I talk to them all the time. Thank you for your time and trouble.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Frank and Sarah, I actually think that there has been more work than you might acknowledge, and maybe it would be time for Brian to respond on the question. But it's not actually the Wilsonville transfer station you're talking about. It's the old dump site up above, and there has been a lot of work on that. And Brian, if you please.
The gentleman and lady that owned that, it was a sawmill.
Right, I understand. And we've certainly been working on this project now for the better part of 2 years, so progress report coming.
Brian Moss, Environmental Management. That is true. We have been working on this. This is actually the Mitchell Mill site that we've done a lot of work on, including receiving bids and also doing a certain amount of GIS work out there. I'm actually glad this was brought up because we're going to be returning to the board with an updated resolution for the farm and ranch grant that we had actually started to work on a while back. We want to refresh that resolution so that we can move forward. And it's my understanding, as a matter of fact, we started working on that within the last week again. There's a lot of activity, and it's my understanding actually that the owners of the property may have changed as well, which is going to give us a little bit more work to do. But we are moving forward on it. It is a Mitchell Mill site. We're aware of it. And yes, indeed, that's something that is it's certainly on our radar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I haven't been there in a while, so I guess I should go and take pictures. But there was over 80 cars there that these people made them tow them away. Those were stolen cars, and they called the sheriff, and the sheriff wouldn't remove them. Frank wouldn't remove them from towing. They had to get somebody to come in there and move all those vehicles that they didn't have nothing to do with. And that was supposed to have been code enforcement. They were supposed to have Frank come out there and tow those vehicles away. They're talking about, well, in order to get the vehicles out of there, we have to make a road. But the other wrecking yards got them out of there just fine. I don't know what's going on. The only thing that I know is something's not right. Because they go after people, code enforcement, and yet they got a big mess up there that they didn't mess with for 80 years. And they admitted that they dumped the asphalt and stuff on it. I think that's kind of bad, taking over somebody's property and dumping stuff on there. And they were dumping up to the end of last year.
Okay, Mr. Ginger, we heard that the county is working on that. Any other comments? All right.
I was here last week and addressed the board and stuff, and there was a comment made by a young lady that I got special treatment from the building department. And I like to let her know I'm not an apologist for the building department, and I treat her like anyone else at the building department. And the lady, if she would go down 35 years ago, my general contractor's license, went to school for code enforcement, electrical enforcement, for code, they probably treat her the same way. And you made a comment about plans. And I've been up here with this permit for over 30 years, and that's the reason I'm not taking this break for 30 days, because this is a good time right now. And what it is, 30 years ago when we came up here, the houses were 1,000-foot garages for two-car garage, and there was a gravel driveway to it. Now you come up here and build on the same 20,000-foot lot, you're talking about a house that's 2,000 to 3,000 foot, two-car garage, and the driveways are surface and kind of patios and walkways. And so why it's such an important thing now on the plot plans and stuff is you're to break all this water now basically off the lot on somebody else. And so it's very, like right now in litigation with the neighbors to divert all the water on my property to my living room. And so it is an important thing for those plans and stuff. And a roof back lot is actually harder to build on because you're stuck with getting rid of the water. And if you don't get rid of the water, you don't show that there's actually a 2% slope away from the foundation, you'll puddle the water by the foundation and you'll have a structural failure in the house. But anyway, I just want to let everyone know that I get no special treatment from the building department.
Okay, for the record, that was Mr. Clapp, Mr. Clapp. Mr. Segala.
Good morning again. I put a little mark on my name, it means I came twice. Not that it means anything. This is a happy occasion. The Calvert County Taxpayer Association has luncheon coming up on the 20th. The Mertens Hotel is going to be presenting an award for excellence in public service. And the recipient of that award is Linda Churches, the county auditor controller, who has received awards from the statewide awards for excellence in our county. And it's really a pleasure to be able to say thank you to people that do a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Segala. Good morning, Mr. McSorley.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Board. Tim McSorley with the Council of Governments. I want to give you a brief update on two items that we're tracking. One is the federal economic stimulus package. It's working its way through Congress. As you may have heard, the House has passed its version and the Senate is working on its version. It appears that Calaveras is going to be eligible for somewhere in the neighborhood of $850,000. We're focusing on working with public work. We're focusing on road rehabilitation projects, those that are quickly left to contract, minimal environmental review that's necessary, no right of way, those kinds of criteria, stuff that we can get people to work very quickly. So we're excited to hear about that and continue to monitor. The other thing that we're working on and monitoring is the implementation of SB 375. That's greenhouse gas. One of the implementing pieces of legislation, the AB 32, the Global Warming Solutions Act of 2006. The Air Resources Board has appointed their Regional Target Advisory Council. We are participating in that effort to identify how we may reach the targets identified under AB 32, and that will have significant implications on the show. So if there's any questions, we will have to answer one as well.
Any questions of Mr. McSorley? Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Tim.
Oh. Once again, Brian Moss, environmental management. On the air pollution side of the shop, I would just like to remind the board and the community that we still have approximately $70,000 in Carl and Moyer piece of work that money's available to the Air Pollution Control District. If we don't expend those or we don't award those actually go back to the state at the end of the fiscal year. So if you have anybody or if the community is interested, please contact the Air Pollution Control District or Environmental Management Agency, and we'll set it up with the Air Pollution Control Officer to discuss possibilities of awarding that money. Thank you.
Thank you very much. When I was making the announcements before, I neglected to draw attention to the fact that after the last item on the agenda today, it's my understanding that Mr. Walker is going to be giving us a PowerPoint presentation that's going to be meant to point out the what do you say, the shortfall in the state disbursements?
The withholding of state disbursements and deferrals, and as much as I'd like to take credit for it, will be Assistant County Administrator Shirley Ryan.
Okay.
Will take the lead, and this would also be followed with our availability to members of media to discuss more specific ways for any tax. We've had input from several other departments on this. It won't be a lengthy presentation, but I believe we will be informative.
We will be reconvening for that PowerPoint presentation on the financial impacts of the state budget problems. Okay, we're moving on to item number 7, discussion and board action, possible board action on a resolution accepting a bid and awarding a contract to Conifer Construction for the construction of multiple bus shelters in Calaveras County.
Good morning. Good morning, Again, Public Works. In fiscal year 06-07, Public Works develops the Bus Stop Improvement Program, which identifies and prioritizes a list of shelter and service improvements that are needed at existing bus stop locations. Since then, Public Works was awarded $77,869 in Federal Transit Administration 5311F Intercity Bus Program grant funding for the construction of 4 of the shelters identified in the Bus Stop Improvement Program. The local match is being funded with Proposition 1E dollars that are specifically designated for transit capital improvement projects. In response to a competitive bid solicitation, Public Works received 7 bids for the construction of the shelters. The lowest responsive bid was provided by Donaker Construction in the amount of $57,365. Public Works recommends awarding the contract to Donaker Construction so we can move forward and complete the project prior to the grant expiration date, which is, pretty fast. So I am available to take questions if anybody has any.
Any member of the board wish to ask Jimmy a question?
Yes, the locations of these, you've listed, and there are 3, I take it.
4.
4 altogether.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm interested in the one that you call utility, say on 49. Do you have a particular site selected? Is it at the corner of 49 and 26?
In front of Lonnie's Frosty,
Lonnie's.
right in front of, not directly in front of the frog, but
The place where they're stopping already, but
yes.
without a site, okay?
I have a similar question on Daphne Street, Springs, the location of it. I don't think currently the bus stops there, so you're gonna add that stop,
We're going to add that stop.
the location?
Yes. So we're going to keep the the Marval Shopping Center, the Valley Oaks Shopping Center location, and we're adding Daphne Street as a stop.
Where on Daphne Street, do you know?
That I would have to, that is incorporated, the engineer could tell you right.
Resolution, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And I'm an aye on that. Opposed? There's a 5-0 in favor of it. One little observation, looking top to bottom on this staff report, there is no recognition that Mr. Anderson with Donaker Construction is a Calaveras County resident. That their company, I looked them up on the web, and they're up in Avery, I think, and they've been in business in this county for a good many years. I'm pleased that we have a local bidder that's going to be doing this work for us. So just a suggestion, might give you more information about who the successful contractor is. Thank you. Okay, we're moving at warp speed this morning. Item number 8, review of correspondence reports and various matters of concern. We'll start with Supervisor Fine.
I'll be attending a COG meeting tomorrow evening.
Supervisor Willis.
I have a mental health board meeting this evening, or actually this afternoon at 4. Another gathering of the combination of Bureau of Land Management, National Forest representatives, Sierra Business Council, Sierra Nevada Conservancy, and others working up a program for Calaveras County forest stewardship and economic development in combination. And that meeting will go all day on the 5th. So I will not be at my normal office hours due to that effort. And on Friday, I need somebody to, if possible, cover for me at the first 5 board meeting, or commission, I should say, meeting. And that actually begins at 9:30 in San Andreas at the first 5 offices. I know I have a backup, but I don't know who that is. I think it might be me.
I have gone to that before. Are you? Okay, then I can cover that for you.
All right, thank you. I also have a couple of other things I'd like to put in the record. I've had a number of letters of this sort, but this kind of puts it on succinctly, and I wanted to read it into the record. This is a letter from a constituent in Railroad Flat. It's regarding building inspector Randy Baker, and it says, Supervisor Walensky, I'm building a new retirement home in Railroad Flat, and Randy Baker has done most of the required inspections. This past week I learned that Randy is losing his job because of the slowdown in building activity. I feel this is very unfortunate. Randy is one of the best inspectors I've worked with, and by the way, this is about the 8th or 9th letter I got on this. He's a very knowledgeable person and has the hands-on trade experience to rationally interpret and apply the various code provisions. I'm doing almost all the work on this project myself, and admittedly do not know every code like a professional tradesperson. Randy gave me his direct line phone number, encouraged me to call him if I had any questions. His quote is, quote, "There is no stupid question," unquote. When I was a child during the Great Depression, my father worked for PG&E. When they were forced to cut costs, they cut the number of hours he worked rather than completely cutting his job. This was one great benefit. This was a great benefit, but not only for our family, but also for PG&E because they were able to retain a skilled person until times improved. Maybe the county would be wise to take a similar approach. This is from Robin Hadley from Railroad Flat. Also wanted to comment on a couple of things. Two of us, Supervisor Toppinelli and I, went down to French Camp last Friday in support of placing a veterans medical facility in French Camp right next to the hospital. There are a number of different choices that are being made. This is the one closest to the county. Certainly would serve our veterans better than having to go to Livermore and Palo Alto, which is currently the distance traveled for some people in my district. That can be on a good traffic day as much as 4 hours drive, sometimes even 5. On bad traffic, it becomes almost insurmountable, and when you don't have a car, it's like having no service at all. This is an issue of great importance, and for veterans that are listening, and for anybody else who cares about the subject, this is a good time to let your wish be known and to make sure that you convey that. Congressman McEnany is the fellow who seems to be spearheading this effort, and any communications would go there. And lastly, and it's the first time I've done this in 4 years, but my wife actually buttonholed me on this topic this morning as I went out the door and said if I didn't speak to it, that I would have a rough re-entry into the home. So I'm under duress, but actually believing in the issue myself. I want to comment on the state budget process. This is the most irresponsible moment that I've seen in California history. I grew up mostly in California, so I've been around a long time. And I've never seen a moment as disgustingly irresponsible to the public interest as what is going on in our legislature. I don't blame any political party. I actually blame all of the political parties. I think the following issues, and I've heard a lot of what I consider to be demagogic analysis of what ails us. But it seems to me there's at least several things that are obvious. We're one of the last states in the union that has a 2/3 requirement to pass a budget. That certainly is a problem, and until we get over that, my view is that we'll continue to have to offer this kind of spectacle to the rest of the country. In a good year, it's a luxury that we can barely afford. And in a time like this, it is actually cataclysmic for the services, for the continuity of services, some of which are in greater need now than they've been in decades. But let me add to that we've compounded our problems in the following ways. With gerrymandered jurisdictions in California so that almost everybody feels safe no matter what they do or don't do. And that has caused a lack of accountability that I think is very fundamental and is a flaw in our governmental structure here. Third, although many people may differ and feel that this is a matter of free speech, the amount of money that flows into assembly and state senate races has distorted our politics and in fact, it is part of the ruination of our democratic process in California. Third, we've found a way to instead of holding elections to throw people out because we can't because of those gerrymandered districts, we've righteously risen up and given term limits. But the fact that we have no long-term relationships between legislators and that we have people who are just barely learning the job before they're turned out has become yet another part of compounding the moment. And finally, I have to say that what we're finding in state service these days amounts to a callous disregard for the public interest. And my wife tells me I should say something about this, and I have.
Thank you, Supervisor Walensky. Supervisor Takanori?
I wanted to bring up the attendance of Supervisor Walensky and myself last Friday at that rally, and it was a very positive thing that was going on down there. There was a tremendous amount of people, a tremendous amount of vets showed up. There was a lot of people that use the services that I found out that is available to them in Stockton. There is a clinic there, but it's just an outpatient type clinic that services 42,000 people last year. Vets. I wanted to echo the sentiments of Supervisor Walensky as we need people from this county to write Congressman McNerney in their support of putting this facility, this medical and convalescent facility next to San Jose Federal Hospital in the French Camp. So please write Congressman McNerney and let him know your feelings on it. Other than that, I have nothing else to report.
Thank you. Supervisor Towns?
I kind of want to piggyback on what Steve said. I was going to make some comments and Bob and Shirley did their presentation. Supervisors in all 50 counties did up there. When I was at the CSAC, California State Association of County meetings this past week, that was the topic, and the Director of Finance for the state of California spoke, and even if a budget is approved, when a budget is approved, it's just going to be perception that things are fine because things are not fine. And the deferral program is absolutely going to kill cities and counties in the state of California. And it's not just the 2/3 which you mentioned in the term limits. We budget by proposition now in the state of California. And so every time you vote for something, no matter how warm and fuzzy it feels, that becomes part of monies that, for the most part, come out of general funds for the state of California. Counties work well. It's how the funding comes through the counties from the state that does not work well. But, we're going to be hearing a lot about that. Surely we'll be talking about some of it next week. Bob, we did the county budget, the mid-year review. And I'm just saying what every other city said in every other boardroom in the state of California today. It is not a pretty picture. There's nothing that's going to be magic. And the state, like you all heard, tax refunds are not being given back. The Taxpayers Association reports they should go back because it's to stimulate the economy. There are no easy answers here. There are no easy answers for the state of California, and there's definitely not any easy answers for the county of Calaveras. But there's going to be a lot of discussion on this topic starting today. I have the Expat Property Owners Council meeting tomorrow. I have the Council of Governments tomorrow night. I have Area 12 Agency on Aging on Thursday. And Tim, there's a 3 o'clock meeting, Council of Government meeting in the Sequoia room today. I have a 3 o'clock
On
on public trust and public transit today.
And that needs.
Oh, that needs, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, and I will try and deal with that, depending on how our board meeting goes. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Was this worthy of?
No, I'm taking care of that.
Okay. I also was was going to mention the meeting that is scheduled for the Sequoia Room this afternoon. It's for the purpose of identifying unmet transit needs for the public transportation system in Calaveras County. That system also is going to be facing some significant challenges, so we have to balance the ability to provide services with trying to identify routes that maybe are need to be supplemented or changed. So if you have interest in that, please go to that meeting. I will be attending Central Sierra Economic Development Council meeting tomorrow morning at 9:30 in Angels Camp. Also at 2 o'clock, I want to report to the board members that we have had one meeting with Brian and the representatives of CCWD to discuss the possibility of creating a septic receiving facility at their facility. Okay, this is at La Contenta, their processing plant above La Contenta. Apparently, 60% of the necessary equipment is already there, so we would just be adding some stuff at the beginning of the process, and that would, of course, be a very desirable thing to have the ability to take septic in this county rather than hauling it over to Oakland. Okay. I wanted to ask if there has been any resolution or movement on settling up the Bill Arco billing, that $600 thing. Is the clerk's been working on that? Okay.
We haven't received an invoice yet.
Should have. I will follow up on that. And as we discussed earlier, I'll be attending the first 5 meetings representing Supervisor Walensky at 9:30 on Friday. And there is an academic decathlon this Saturday, the 7th at Bret Harte High School. Anybody who's interested in seeing what our bright kids are doing these days as far as preparing for their college or preparing for life. As a general rule, one of the young men chose as his topic, I know, was a Judge Lester, that actually he was discussing the meaning of life. I thought that was a pretty ambitious topic for an academic decathlon. Yeah, he did pretty well. Okay, that concludes my comments. How about CAO, Mr. Lockman?
Absolutely.
Every year.
Carol? Nothing? Okay, I think that this concludes everything that's on the agenda. We're going to be going into closed session. Is that correct? Okay. And we'll come back afterwards for this PowerPoint presentation. Shouldn't be long. Thank all of you for coming, and we'll see you in a little bit.
How about reversing in the order of this so that the people who don't get inconvenienced?
Yeah, we're ready. We'll do that now.
Okay, just for
If people are interested in staying, we're going to move to our presentation followed by a closed session so that we don't have to interrupt the flow of things. So press and anybody else interested.
yes, we're going to do the PowerPoint presentation first. Should have thought about that earlier. Apologize. Let's take about a 5-minute break so that we can get this. Do you understand? 5 minutes to be.
It'll be 10 minutes. Yeah, probably. Well, how's it going?
How are you, boys?
Good. This is one of those days. Heading for a jury duty.
So you're back in,
schedule.
Something simple to fix, have one fix it. If you want to make it stronger, I'd rather take it back to the meeting. Let it stay out.
Yes.
Yeah, but it turns out
So it helps us back I know, I'm just joking. What you do. couple of those a week. And I get to think that I actually.
So what do you say? Well, I thought it was a great idea. I have some ideas.
It is what it was. Right?
The other thing,
The accident is, I know it is what it is. How are you?
Wonderful. We're gonna get this on,
We are. We're gonna try. I've got to get out of here at 11. This little guy is.
I gotta go out too, I don't wanna miss it.
We'll be here until 11. We gotta roll.
I think you said it's gonna be fairly short, so.
Yeah, we should be able to
Okay,
get it.
so you have it up tonight, or?
Well, in fact, it's going out live right now. So.
Okay.
In
So you're
fact,
still-
you're going out live right now.
Well,
That would be nice. Yeah. That would be nice. Yeah, we'll put it up.
okay, that'd be great, because I want to get my, well, I was working in the room, so I had no way I can
Understood.
make that and do this. Because at least I get a copy of like an email from it.
Yeah, we should.
It looks like it's gonna be full.
But then we have to compete with the squirrels. And the wild turkey, yeah, which that population. Yeah.
Look around for rocks or little holes in them.
There you go. Yes.
Would you introduce yourself?
that would be great. That would be really nice. This is how bad.